Okay, what you're looking at here is the DE-322AF Paper Folder from Dynafold. This particular paper folder is designed for medium volume paper folding and is a great machine, very easy to set up and can do quite a bit. The motor is capable of running at a speed of up to 10,000 sheets per hour, which doesn't necessarily mean it's designed to fold 10,000 sheets in an hour, but that is how fast the motor runs. One nice thing about the DE-22AF is that it does have variable speed control. You can actually adjust it all the way down from basically not doing anything all the way up to full speed and anywhere in between. There's an on-off switch here, very easy to turn on and off. When it is on, the switch will light up red, letting you know that there's power running through the machine. To start with, I'd like to explain a little bit about what this machine can do. It does have a feed tray here that can hold up to 500 sheets of paper. It is capable of folding paper anywhere from 10 pound, which is very thin, all the way up to 110 pound cardstock, which is fairly thick paper, which is one nice thing about this machine. This paper folder is designed to fold anything from 2 by 3 inches, which is fairly small, all the way up to 12 by 17 inches, which is a fairly large sheet of paper. I'd like to first of all talk about how to set this machine up when you pull it out of the box. It's not going to be fully assembled. There will be trays that will have to be set into place. Let me pull these trays out right now. There's the top feed tray, and then there are 2 folding plates. As with any paper folder, there is a folding plate typically in the back and a folding plate in the front, which will need to be inserted into the machine. So the paper folder will probably look more or less like this when you first pull it out of the box. Now, inserting the back feed tray here is very easy. You'll notice that there is a notch right up here in the front. You need to make sure that that notch right there fits on this post right here. One very important part about setting up a paper folder is getting the folding trays in and secure. If they're not secure, the papers will not fold straight and you'll end up with a lot of paper jams. So set this in. The first notch right here sets on this point, and the second notch right here rests on that point. So I'll put this in the machine right now. You'll almost feel it kind of click into place, and I can't pull that back and forth. It is in there very secure right now. Now the second folding plate just goes in the back here. You'll notice that there's a notch up here in the front, and then a notch in the back that sets on the second post. You'll want to just slide that in. You'll see one post here and one post here, and those just need to slide up and over and then fit into those posts. Once you have it in, it's in there really good. But if for any reason it's not in there straight and it's not secure, again, you'll have problems starting the machine. And then the final tray, which is the feed tray, will slide into the paper folder here. There is a post on the inside where that notch right there will fit onto, and then this curve right here will fit onto this post up here. And you want to make sure that that fits firmly in place as well. Again, if there's any play there, the paper will not be pulled in properly and you'll have paper jams. Now the plug is just a simple 110, 120 volt 3-prong plug. So just plug it into an outlet. And as I mentioned before, when you turn the power on, it will light up. You have the variable speed control. And again, that just depends on how quickly you want to fold the paper, and also on the type of paper that you're folding. The thicker the paper, the slower you're going to want the machine to run because it is more taxing on the motor. During this demonstration, we're going to fold 8.5 by 11 paper, but it can fold a wide variety of sizes. On the inside of the paper folder here, there is a guide which will let you know where you need to adjust the folding plates for the different type of folds that you want to do. There's a guide here for 11 by 17 paper, a guide for 8.5 by 14 paper, a guide for 8.5 by 11 paper, which is probably what most of you will be using, and a guide for 6 by 9 paper. I found with paper folders the most common sizes are the 8.5 by 11 and the 11 by 17. The types of folds are right here. So if you're wanting to do, say, just a single fold, which is the one up here, it will tell you that you will need to adjust one of the folding plates to the number 9, and you'll know that you're adjusting the right folding plate because one has numbers on it, the other has letters on it. They don't have both. So the first folding plate I will want to adjust to a 9 on the scale here, and then the back folding plate has a dash, which means you need to turn that folding plate around to completely close off that folding plate. For this demonstration, we're going to do what is known as a letter fold or a C-fold, which is right down here. So we'll be adjusting that here in just a minute, and I'll show you how to do that. But before we even adjust the folding plates, we're going to need to adjust the friction wheel up here. So before we make any adjustments here on the friction wheel, we're going to want to lift up this feeder wheel right here into the upright position. There are 2 notches here, one for the upright position, and then the other to lay down on the paper once you're ready to start folding. Now it does have a friction wheel, a top grabbing friction wheel. Some pull from the bottom, some pull from the top. This particular paper folder pulls from the top. Now there is what's known as a retarder wheel, which is on this feeding plate, which touches the friction wheel up here. Now out of the box, that retarder wheel could be in a variety of positions. What you want to do is just take a standard sheet of paper. Right now I'm using just a standard 20-pound sheet of copy paper. Now right now it's going in and out of that friction wheel very easily. So on the bottom of the feed tray, there's actually a screw that you can adjust to tighten that and loosen it. Now if the paper's thicker, you're going to want to loosen that a little bit. If it's thinner, you're going to want to tighten it up a little bit. But right now if I put that paper in, it falls right in. And you don't want that, because that means it's now able to pull in probably 5 or 10 sheets of paper at one time, which will cause paper jams and will make a big mess. Okay, so I'm going to tighten up that retarder wheel by turning the screw on the bottom of the feed tray clockwise. And I'll just keep tightening that. You'll notice now it's getting a little harder. So I'm going to put that all the way in, tighten that down until it just gets just a little bit hard to pull that out and it kind of slides out. That means I've got that set up just right for this thickness of paper. Again, you're going to want to adjust that depending on the size and the thickness of the paper you're going to be folding. Now, depending on the size of the paper you're going to be folding, you're going to need to adjust the side guides here on the feed tray. Right now I've got it set up to an 8.5 by 11, but all you need to do is loosen these screws up here counterclockwise, and that will slide, allowing you to adjust it for the different size of paper. Now if you're doing an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, you're going to want this to be on about 4 1/4. Again, you're not going to want to adjust this based on the inside measurements of the guides, but the outside of the guides. So I'm going to slide that over to about 4 1/4 inches. And once I have that set, both on the top and on the bottom, and then I'm going to tighten that up. Now you're going to want the top and the bottom to be adjusted the same, so this is perfectly straight. If that's crooked in any way, it'll throw the skew off on the paper, and the fold just won't look very good. If for any reason you end up with a paper jam, there is a jam wheel which allows you to just manually turn that wheel clockwise or counterclockwise to work that paper out of the machine manually. Very easy to do. In fact, if you set the fold plates for a certain type of fold, you can actually manually put that paper through the machine, watch the process, and make sure that everything's set up properly. So I'm going to set up this paper folder for what's known as a letter fold with an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Now if you look at the guide here and look at the C fold, which is right down here, the third one down, I'm going to move over to 8.5 by 11, and it tells me that one of the fold plates need to be set to 14, which is this one, and the other one needs to be set to E, which is this back fold plate. So if I pull this fold plate out, which you can do to adjust the fold, or you can do it while it's in the machine. For the sake of this video demo, I'm going to pull the fold plate out to show you exactly where that needs to be. So according to this guide, it's telling me that this needs to be set to a 14, which is actually already at. You'll see the 14 right there. And you're just going to want to make sure that line right there and this line on the other side are set to that 14 mark. Now these just loosen up counterclockwise, and this slides all over. So set that to about 14. You're going to want to make sure that the screws are tight so that they don't move out of place while the paper is folding. And you're going to want to make sure that they're both lined up on each side, or the fold will end up crooked. Then once you've finished adjusting that, just put the fold tray back into the machine. Again, you don't have to pull it out to do the adjustments. I just did that so I could show you how to adjust that on the camera. Now the back fold tray you may want to pull out because it's a little bit harder to get to. This one's a little bit smaller. Now, according to the fold guide on the paper folder, it told me to set this one to an E. So you loosen that up. You'll see a variety of letters on here. There is an H, a K, an M, a P. Now we're going to want this on an E, according to the fold guide. So slide this back. So that right there lines up on that orange E line on both sides. Again, you want them to both be lined up, or you may end up with a crooked fold. And once you have those lined up properly, just put it back into the machine. Again, make sure that it is secure to prevent any paper jams. The last part you're going to want to check before you start up the machine is you're going to want to pull out this exit tray here. Now, one nice thing about the DE-322AF is that it does use a conveyor system for the paper as it comes out of the machine. Now, this keeps the paper in order and organized and keeps it from flying all over the place. There's also an exit wheel which helps keep the paper from flying out of the machine too quickly, kind of slows things down and keeps everything in order. Now, you will need to adjust these wheels based on the size of the paper. It is generally recommended to adjust these wheels so that the distance between the wheel and the exit roller, which you probably can't see from where you're at, but there's a black rubber roller down here, the distance between this wheel and that rubber roller should be about the width of the final folded paper. So we're doing a letter fold, which is probably going to be about that wide. So I'm going to want that wheel to be about that size. The smaller the paper, the smaller the fold, the farther in that wheel will go. The larger the paper, the larger the fold, the farther out that wheel will go. Now, before we put the paper into the machine, these orange guides here, which actually spin with the friction roller, will need to be pulled out just a little bit to help guide the paper through the machine. Okay, so now we're going to put the paper into the machine and begin folding it, doing a letter fold. But remember that you do need to fan the paper. I recommend bending it over, holding onto one edge with a finger, and letting it back up so that the paper is properly fanned in this direction. And once the paper has been fanned, you can put it into the machine. And this allows the paper to be properly pulled into the machine. And then bring this top roller back down onto the paper. And we're ready to begin folding. I have the machine turned on right now. I have the variable speed turned down to a 0. I will turn that up to begin folding. And once it looks okay, you can turn it up even faster. So there you have it, the DE-322AF paper folder. Just a few things to keep in mind. If for any reason these rollers do get dirty, you'll notice that they do kind of get a little bit of white powder on them. We do sell some roller cleaner Rejuvenator that you can put on those, clean the excess ink or paper dust off those rollers, and it helps extend the life and will allow your paper folder to run properly in the future.